So what that means is that other people can be watching us, right?
Correct.
You made it public. That's what you just did. Okay.
Yeah, they can't just get in though, right?
Right. I have to invite people specifically for them to get in. So,
Okay.
let's get down to business.
Well, first, I'm honored to meet you in person, Emery.
Well, thank you very much.
And the rest of you
as virtual as this is.
The rest of you too, but I've been telling everybody in the world it's the best podcast I know. You are first on my list. My only disappointment is there's only one of them a week.
I hear you. Well, we're about to do Skeptically Yours. Have you heard about that yet?
I've heard the title, but I don't have any information about when you're going to do it or anything interesting like what it'll be when it happens.
We have pre-recorded our first episode of Skeptically Yours with Andrew Maxwell. He's a British comic who comes over, gets on a bus, and rides around with morons. Oh,
that guy! Yeah, I've heard of him.
Really great. He did one on 9/11, and he just did one on UFOs. And while doing his UFO tour, I brought a friend of mine in, a comic named James Inman, and put him in the room with Andrew Maxwell, and we just mopped the floor with my friend James. So that'll be episode 1 coming soon.
Where do I get those? I would like to find those things. I haven't seen them.
It'll be the same kind of thing. Yeah, well, I mean, you subscribe, I believe, to our
I don't
podcast,
mean it skeptically. I don't mean that. I mean the ones that Maxwell did.
I don't know the answer to that.
The UFO one and the
I don't know the answer to that. They're off the bus.
Have all the rest of you seen them?
What was that?
I haven't.
Have the rest of you seen them? I've heard of them, but I haven't found them. Yeah.
Oh, you can find them online or parts of them online. If you look for Andrew Maxwell and what is it called? Something bus. I'm not sure. I don't remember now. But okay, let's.
Okay, so we got the compliments out of the way. I just want to make sure you understand that there's nothing personal here. I think you guys are all great.
No. I think we just strongly disagree, obviously, about the cries of sexism and what's the word that just doesn't apply in my opinion? Sexual harassment.
Harassment. Yeah.
It's obvious, Wendell, that you and I can just wholeheartedly disagree, and I always am very bummed out when I have a fan of the show, being so bothered by one of my shows. But I am doing the best I can, and I'm certainly doing what I think is right, and the show is a show of opinions. B.J. Kramer has joined us. Hey, B.J.
Hey, B.J.
Hey there. I don't know if my stuff's working just yet.
Guys, I'm totally out of focus. I apologize for that. I have no idea why.
No, it has to do with the pixelation because of the bandwidth. Don't worry about it too much. It comes in and out.
Oh, okay. This is my first Google Hangout. I've been a Google Hangout virgin. So
they're pretty neat. So
I expect you all.
Fine.
I expect you all to have your way with me.
No worries. How long do we have you, BJ?
About 10-15 minutes. Did you hear me?
Okay. I can hear you.
Okay. So do we want to tackle something specific right now, or what?
Well, I'm going to try to do what I was trying to do in the chat, where Jarrett and Travis jumped in, and I just want to talk with. And BJ, feel free to jump in. We only have you here for a short time, I know. First of all, my first point of contention with the points, and before we do that, real quickly, let's go over a point beat. Travis, will you please set up all of the points that we're hoping to hit today?
Yes. Hold on 1 second. So there was 7 points that I got out of Wendell's initial post. One is that people telling others that women going to TAM would be in danger is not true. Point 2 is people like Jen, Greta, PZ, and Rebecca are prudes and anti-sex. 3.
Let's be clear about that. That point is the claim that that I said that on the show, I think, right?
Correct. Or not as specifically you. It might have been DJ. I'd have to check the records to prove it. It was said on the show and not contested.
All right, go on.
Number 3, our issue is consent and power imbalances. I know that's an important one for you, for Emery.
Yeah.
4, making fun of speaker agreements to not have sex with attendees. 5, mentions informal network of female speakers that pass around names of male speakers that do inappropriate sexual actions.
I'm not sure what that one meant. I didn't make that one specifically. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Okay, we can clarify that when I'm done the list. Only 2 more to go. 6, DJ dismisses these concerns and blames blogs for lower female attendance. And number 7, claims Emery supported Dawkins in his Muslima comment on Peasy's blog.
Okay. So those are the points that we want to try and really make sure we speak on clearly. And I'd like to really go Socratic on this. I want to just go point by point. And I want to respond to them, and I want to discuss them with you, Wendell. The first one I'm going to hit, I'm not going to go in order. The first one I want to hit is, I think that this entire thing it all falls underneath this one point. That's my position. I have no desire to try to debate you in a strategic way. I want to debate you in the most honest exchange of ideas possible, and that is okay. Good.
I mean, I wouldn't know how to debate you in a strategic way, so go ahead.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just a guy, you know.
I know how to debate strategically, and it's not my goal to do that, because at the end of the day, what I'm hoping we all walk away with, and that any viewers or listeners might walk away with, is the facts. To me, that's what's really important here, because we're skeptics. It's what we deal in. So that said, I want to start with this. I don't see how anybody can claim that there is this power balance problem where the speaker of TAM, any speaker at TAM, or any convention for that matter, in my opinion, where people are actually paying money to be there, they're adults, the speakers are adults, this imbalance of power, this thing that they can somehow wield over convention goers. I just think it's non-existent. I think it's completely invented in order to hold up this really, really awful argument.
Oh, Wendell, your mic went dead.
Well, what a shame.
Well, that's one way to silence your opponent in a debate.
What? Have him have technical problems? I'm
That's
sure
really
he'll
great.
I'm sure he'll get it straight up.
You understand, I am the IT manager of the group. I don't know if the rest of you are geeks, but I work in IT for a living.
Okay, well, we got you back.
So, yes, I leaned on the mute button. I leaned down like this and pushed the mute button.
That's
so my point was, I've forgotten what I was going to say. I know what you just said, though.
Okay.
You're basically denying that it exists. Okay, why would anybody
BJ, what?
I apologize for doing it just so I can follow. Travis, could you shoot me that list?
Oh, yeah,
oh,
sure.
yeah.
I'll email it to you.
Update BJ, Travis.
So I guess my question is, Travis, why would Emery, why would somebody make it up? What do you think their motivation would be?
Well, what I'd like to do is my argument is on the table, and that is there is no power struggle here. There's no power to be wielded. Your examples, for example, you example the following: a child and a parent. Of course, no one here or any listener or viewer would think that a child and a parent should be able to have sex. The next one I think was boss and an employee. That's the classic example of sexual harassment. A boss can start to have sex with an employee or use sex to convince an employee to become sexually active with them in order to keep their job. That's power. That's true and honest power. And I think the other one was a doctor and a patient. I'm not 100% on the doctor-patient difference, for the record. I think when it's psychological, you got issues. But when someone is someone wants to be sexual with someone they're operating on, I'm not sure that I have a problem
not during
with
the
that.
operation.
No, well, I don't know. It depends. I would be open to that.
Another example I failed to list was priests or ministers and parishioners.
Yeah.
I for one, I saw one of those up close in the Unitarian church I went to. The minister taking unfair advantage of some of his parishioners.
Okay.
It was, in that case, which I could give you lots of details you don't care about, it was truly abusive. It was wrong.
Yeah, no, I don't have time to masturbate. I want to discuss.
But if I could just chime in real quick. First off, BJ, I emailed you the list. But what I think might be a bit of a confusion is what I can see, to kind of take halfway in between, is I can see people where they might be starstruck over a speaker
No question.
But not necessarily the power thing.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think that's half of it. The starstruck is half, but the other half, I mean, the other example that came to mind is look at the abuse that Rebecca got for just talking casually about one of her peers who did something some people thought was inappropriate. Think of what it would have been if she had said Dawkins had groped her. Think of the abuse she would have gotten. No one would have listened to her. The power imbalance is obvious. It's clear. They are equal.
Well, first of all, the example that you offer, the abuse that that Rebecca suffered is no different than the abuse that DJ is suffering. DJ is suffering great abuse. People are saying things about him that aren't
I'm not sure
accurate.
if he is or isn't, Emery, but that has nothing to do with the point under discussion, whether or not an improper balance can exist that causes sexual things to be unequal. That's my point.
DJ raising his hand?
DJ getting abused is yes or no, but it's nothing to do with what comment I'm making.
It has everything to do with the comment you're making, Wendell. That's why I pointed it out, and I'll explain why that's true.
Emery, hold on 1 second. Just DJ's mic's low, and he wants to get in.
Okay, BJ, your mic is super low. How do we fix this?
Talk loud.
Let me.
Or you can get iPhone. You can get an iPhone headset and probably solve this, BJ.
Hey, how about that? Is that any better?
There you go. Now we're fixed.
Yeah, I have a fancy mic, and that one apparently is low volume, and the built-in iMac mic works better. Okay, so my concern is I keep hearing things about abuse, and Rebecca has cited individual statements she's gotten via email and chat and blog comments and whatever. I don't think I'm alone in saying I don't consider that abuse. Dawkins gets that every day also. This is what the internet is. It is where the idiots come out to play and they say hateful things. It's not about sex. It's not about power. It's not about skeptics. It's just about what happens when you're a public figure on the internet. I think that it only makes sense to just completely discount all of the vile crap that people receive from anonymous people online. And then
I think that
deal with the more real issues of abuse. And
I also think that one of the errors that Rebecca is making is when she cites the kinds of abuses that you're talking about. I think, Wendell, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when she cites them, she's making this awful mistake of making it seem like they're connected to her experiences at TAM, when in fact they're simply connected.
I don't know that I've seen her say that, but go ahead.
I have the actual quote here.
Tried to imply that. I mean,
yes, I have the actual quote. I will read it off.
I think it's the one. Go ahead, read it.
Yeah, it's from her. It's from her I won't be at TAM this year post.
Yeah.
So it's odd for me to be announcing that I will not attend TAM this year because I do not feel welcome or safe, and I disagree strongly with the recent actions of the JREF president, DJ Greta. She goes on to give specific examples of what she's been called, and it's very clear that it's kind of grouped in with TAM. The other thing that makes it, somebody mentioned to me previously that, oh, well, she's talking about all free thought conferences, but she goes on to list specific conferences that she is going to and that she's willing to give money to, including CSICon, Nexus, Skepticon, Skepticon, and a bunch of others. So, hey,
CSICon, will she be there?
Yes.
That's in Nashville this year.
Yes.
Which is where I am.
There you go.
Don't touch her.
Anyway, I don't even think I'll say hello to her, but that's a different subject. I think we're wandering. So what you're saying is that my example of using her abuse as an example of how power can be used is inappropriate because it isn't really a power differential that caused her to be abused.
Well, I would even go further and say that I don't think you should count her abuse because she's a skeptical celebrity, and her experience at a conference is not going to be typical of a normal conference goer.
And in fact, is not
I go the other way around. I think because she's a skeptical, because she's a celebrity, there's closer to power equality between her and other people than the other way around. Honestly, Emery, on this particular issue, okay, the idea of the power imbalance, I don't think we're going to reach agreement. I mean, it's a perception thing. I perceive that there is an imbalance. Some other people agree with me. You all don't agree with me. I honestly don't see a path out of that to more information.
Well, I would say this, Wendell. I would say if indeed there's a power imbalance, then you have to defend that claim. That's all I'm saying. And
I have defended that claim, and you've said in your perception my analogies aren't sufficient. and I can't. All I can do is say yes, they are, and you say no, they aren't.
Well,
We can do that.
well,
all day.
actually, well, hang
We
on.
never get
Let me
anywhere.
interject there and just say. So here's what I'll say. In the examples you gave, doctor, patient, parent, child, all those other ones.
Priest, parishioner.
Yep, whatever. The person of power can give consequence to the person that's not of power. What kind of consequence can a speaker give to a conference goer?
Well, number one, I think the closest one is probably the minister to the parishioner in terms of consequences, just to be equivalent. And I think the consequence they can give is shaming them, harming their reputation, making them look like a fool. There can be quite a lot of consequences. They're informal. I remember before I said informal power exists, and you all denied it. So,
does BJ want to chime in?
What can I say?
His arm up.
BJ, do you have your hand up, BJ? I like that.
No, I'm
Speak up,
sorry.
man.
That's just comfort. I just hang my arm.
Oh, okay.
Can you name an example where that kind of power has been used? You've offered Rebecca, and to the best of my ability to glean what you're saying, and in my opinion, what has happened to Rebecca is a result of awful, awful idiots on the internet anonymously picking on this woman. Now,
No,
for the record...
But my example of Rebecca was, this is what happened when she talked about somebody who wasn't important. If she talked about somebody who was important...
Wait, when you say somebody who wasn't important, you mean the guy in Ireland?
The elevator guy, yeah.
Well,
somebody who was nobody. I'm saying if she'd made any kind of accusation against somebody in power, it would have been much worse by many more people.
Well,
but I can't prove it to you. I don't have an example. I can't give you one.
Well,
okay.
and what bothers me about that argument, Wendell, is that it's all the what ifs. It's all what if, what if, what if.
And so are yours. Your perception is that there is no informal power that would cause someone to have an unfair advantage over someone else in proposition for sex.
Right, and I have evidence to support my claim. There aren't examples of people who have spoken out against anybody at TAM who was speaking and suffered those consequences. There aren't examples. There just aren't examples.
BJ?
Go ahead, BJ.
Isn't this a normal issue that humans deal with every day, always? I mean, in any kind of social interaction, there's power imbalances. If that person's better looking than me or dresses nicer or whatever, it's a power imbalance. And if we go to a conference where some people are famous, yeah, it's a power imbalance, but I think that's just the way humans have to operate. We always have to negotiate fields of power imbalance, and it's ludicrous for us to try to institute social rules to say that one person who may have an advantage socially over another cannot take advantage of that advantage.
But you do agree in the situations like priest parishioner, you agree that's an unfair power imbalance, right?
Yeah, sure. And we can, all students and teachers, sure. I mean, you can come up with things.
Students and teachers, right. So the point is, my point is, I don't know how we're going to reach a conclusion on this in terms of, I feel it is significant. Some other people who aren't here to talk about it with me agree with me, and you all don't.
I'm fine with continuing on the assumption, on the given, that people have a difference of opinion on that. Some people think that there is a relevant power imbalance. Some people think it doesn't exist. Some people think it exists, like me, but so what? You have to learn to navigate that. Therefore, what? What are we saying should be done as a result?
Well, let's move to another point at this point. Are you okay with that, Wendell?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I didn't think we were going to get agreement on this anywhere, so that's fine.
All right.
We should go into the harassment policy then, really, shouldn't we?
I have no problem with that. Let's talk about the harassment policy.
Because that fits in with this. Yeah.
Wendell, one of the things in your initial post on my wall, one of your points, and I don't want to put any words in your mouth. I'll ask Travis to clarify, or yourself. You basically were saying that that DJ wasn't acting, and that there wasn't there wasn't any action taken when Rebecca and her followers and friends, any of the feminists that
we like the term minions, actually.
Any of the people in that camp were complaining, wasn't being heeded. And I will say very clearly on this point, The exact opposite is true. The exact opposite. DJ reacted, I think, very, very well and decisively. Certainly he made a couple of missteps, public gaffes along the way in what he said as this all unfolded. No question about that. His action was significant.
Okay, now we've kind of wandered. I thought we were going to talk about the need for harassment policy or what should be in it, as opposed to whether DJ was acting like a fool and should be fired. We've kind of wandered.
Yeah, well, as far as the need for a harassment policy, TAM9 had a harassment policy.
Yes, it did, and good for them. I've never said anything bad about that. That was great. It was before other people even aware.
Travis, what were the words of Wendell when he said something about the harassment policy not being readily available? Do you recall?
Let me see.
I can tell them myself if you'd like.
Well, that's
Go ahead.
If you want.
Basically, what I said is the harassment policy was posted on a blog for last year. It wasn't, to my knowledge, but I wouldn't know a lot about it.
Yes,
it's clearly posted. It should have been.
It corrected me.
Sorry, go ahead, DJ. That's fine.
It was a big deal. It was printed in literature in a like on a last-minute thing put into the packet very obviously. Everyone saw it. And,
okay, I'll grant you that. I was not at TAM, so I'm not going to argue that point further. I'll grant you.
Just real quick. I talked to Emery about this before. It would be nice to get a female perspective. Sarah Mayhew wants in. If nobody has any objections to me inviting her in.
The only objection I've got is it was 1 on 4, 1 on 5, 1 on 6. God, if only it was an orgy instead of this. It'd be so much nicer.
You know, Wendell, one of the things that I felt really strongly about, and I wasn't able to drum it up, was I was hoping to get a woman's perspective in here. I
agree, literally, and I'm not saying don't. I'm just whining.
Okay.
We're not here to beat you up.
You sure?
Yeah, no, I'm actually very curious in your perspective because I'm actually
you're all being very friendly. It's cool.
No, but I'm honestly very interested why we're seeing this issue in such different ways.
It is odd. I have had conversations with people that I've assumed would take a different position for me because it does seem like everyone joins a team rather than formulates an opinion. But some of the more thoughtful people who I've discussed this with off the record have expressed complete agreement with me, as far as I could tell, in that there's been a variety of bad behavior all around, but everybody basically wants the same thing. So it really comes down to how much do you think certain people said stupid things on the internet, you know, and that's very much a matter of taste and a matter of repercussion. But in terms of what we actually care about, oh man,
but I agree. That's great, BJ. One thing I'd love to spend some time at the end of this is what do we think should be happening in the future, regardless of what I said in my post that was stupid or wrong, or what DJ said or what Rebecca said that was ignorant. It would be nice to have some discussion about what we think should be happening.
I'd be happy to, and it's remarkable how little of that I've seen, considering that, you know, we all should be on the same page. It seems like the people in the I hate the people who are assumed to be in the anti-Rebecca camp, which is certainly not how I would call myself, although
I understand.
I'm well painted in that light. Although Rebecca and I are still Facebook friends and we get along just fine. It seems like, you know, the Emerys and Travises and BJs of the world have been more vocal about what to do rather than anything else. And unfortunately, the very first thing that many people seem to be trying to champion is to impress upon conference goers to be more forthcoming with information, and immediately we get shouted down as, you know, victim blaming.
Well,
that's not what the shouting that I've heard has come from. Emery,
I've been called a sexist and a misogynist for taking the position that I've taken. Nobody seems to be aware of the episode that we did on this back when Elevator Gate was actually being called Elevator Gate. What a joke!
Heck, you called this PenisGate. I mean, come on, I'd rather be called Elevator Gate.
You said it as a joke.
That's
actual joke.
That's called satire, Wendell. But if you speak out against the feminist position in this particular discussion, you really are instantly labeled and loudly labeled as a misogynistic sexist. And I'm definitely a guy with a penis. I admit that, but that's just about it.
Prove it,
I'm,
Emery.
No,
Don't do it. Don't do
prove
it.
it.
Please, don't.
Shut up, BJ. Don't you have someplace to go?
I really do, but not if Emery's... All right, never mind.
My penis's reputation precedes me.
Sarah, great to see you. Sorry, I have to get
Hi,
out.
Sarah.
So,
Hi.
off.
Well, BJ, nice to have met you briefly.
Well, I wish we'd have more time, but my trivia team awaits.
Go.
I must run.
They're going to be hopeless without you. Move it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so just real quick, since Sarah just came in, I know you've been watching a little bit. Do you have anything you want to chime in with that's been said that we've already talked about? If not, that's okay.
I'm just here to break up the sausage fest. That's all.
Nice.
Thank you. Actually, on that point, Heidi Anderson just sent me a message. She wants in as well, if everybody is okay with that.
I'm fine with that.
Yes.
Fine. Fine with me.
All right, hang on. Let me see if I can.
While
do
you
this.
bring her in, I'm going to take us to our. I'm going to take us back to the point that.
That's
that
fine.
Wendell. Yeah, and Wendell, I want to agree with you on something right now. I think at the end of all of this, I would be very excited if we could. You and I could individually clearly state how we feel we should move forward from all of this. That's exactly what I'd like to do. I think that that's a really smart request, and I think I agree with it. That said, the point we were just talking about, and you felt like we were getting off point. What? Let me find my notes here. Damn it.
I was trying to bring it back to the sexual harassment policy itself and having one or not having one. You pointed out that I was wrong in saying it wasn't well publicized at TAM last year, and I've given you that point. Apparently
Okay,
I was.
Wendell, let me be very clear, too, as we wrap up that point. What I want to say very, very, very loudly is this is the problem. This, in my opinion, is the fundamental problem with this discussion. There's so much misinformation about DJ. There's so much misinformation about JREF and what they did in light of the discussion that it's insidious. It's almost religious-esque, and it's really pissing me off, and it makes me embarrassed for my community, and by that I mean the skeptical and the atheistic community. It really, really bothers me.
I would like to ask one question in the harassment policy category, and we won't go into the speaker no sex part because that was part of that power thing we aren't going to agree on. But it does strike me as odd that with all this going on, that they haven't published, to my knowledge, you all can correct me, they haven't published a policy for the TAM that's happening in, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
4 weeks?
They
haven't talked about it, they haven't published it. It seems to me if I was them, I would be putting that out front.
DJ did post a link to last year's policy and said that they would have a similar or equal policy this year.
Where did he say that?
I think it was somewhere on one of his comments somewhere. I think it might have
every
been
comment I've seen, he's referred to last year's policy, but not specifically said it will be there this year the same.
Well, I think part of the reason is that they're working on the new policy.
What do you think needs to happen in the new policy, Wendell?
Well, first off, if I was them, I would be publicizing the fact that it's going to be there definitely, and that they're working on it. That would go a long way toward making people feel better that they were doing some good stuff.
Okay.
As far as what's in it, I am not a pro. I would like to see a clear reporting policy of what the reporting procedures are, so records are kept. I would like to see it be anonymous so that people can feel safe reporting, and I would like to see something covering the speakers. We're going to argue about what that something is, but
you and I will definitely not agree. I'll warn you now.
We've lost Sarah.
I'm going to bring in Mallory, somebody else that wanted in on this. So.
Okay.
But more than anything else, right now, I'm just saying I wish that policy was out there. Would make some people who are not happy with JREF feel like, oh, good, they're doing something, they're working on it.
Now,
if they just announce it, it would be great.
I want to take us to this point then. I think that the people who claim that JREF is not a safe place and needs this policy in order to be a safe place or to feel like it's a safe place are wrong. I think that the evidence shows that it's an extremely safe place for women and men and gays and transsexuals. I think that the evidence shows...
What about queers?
Queers are all right, too. I think that in my opinion, the evidence that supports the idea that this even needs to be a fucking discussion is completely bullshit. I think it's completely bullshit. And the reason I think it's bullshit is because every example I've seen so far, I haven't seen a single one that is impressive in the sense that it suggests that it would change anything to have the policies you're describing, Wendell. Nothing would change. In my opinion, what we're seeing is we're seeing political bullying. We're seeing positioning by this
Again,
one
why?
particular... What?
Why?
I can't
What do they have to
tell you-
gain by it?
Well, I can give you examples of what they have to gain. I can't tell you that I think or believe or have proof that anybody is doing these things in order to have to gain something from it. But there's a lot to gain. Rebecca became 10 times more well known the second she started this fight. The second she stood up against Dawkins in that moment that was so fucking stupid on Dawkins' part, and for the record, I said very clearly was stupid on Dawkins' part, Wendell, very fucking clearly in my show. And for you to have walked away with a different perspective.
I can play the recording on that.
He has
It wasn't you,
Emery has it queued
DJ.
up.
I have it queued up. Here we go.
He's going to pull his... Hang on, give it a second for him to...
I backed Rebecca up, actually. What I was able to glean originally from what she had said about the guy on the elevator.
Right.
I didn't think that she was stepping out of line at all.
Yeah, I found that so innocuous. It was, you know, hey guys, don't do that. I liked that.
Yeah.
Now, and in her defense, or maybe this is veiled criticism, I have to think about it, but, you know, her initial statement was innocuous, but the commenters on various blogs sort of radicalized the discussion.
That's right. That's exactly
and changed the topic from, hey guys, don't do that, to women consistently get objectified, and how do you know he wasn't a rapist, and, you know, so many conversations that I don't think
In other words, it got blown way the fuck out of proportion, which I've been saying over and over and over again. People need just to calm the hell down.
I think so. And the really tragic thing, and you know, a lot of skeptics who don't follow this inside baseball stuff, don't realize how horribly she was treated. Not by, I would argue, something called the skeptics community, but by anonymous commenters on YouTube and Reddit and elsewhere. And there's some conflation about, like, anonymous guys in their parents' basement commenting on the internet, and self-organizing kind of skeptic activists who are trying to make the world a better place by promoting critical thinking.
Well, you're being very polite, and I think you should be. I am not going to be as polite. I'm pissed off right now at how Rebecca has kind of jumped on this horse of bullshit. And that's got me fucking furious, and I'm not going to ask you to agree with that. It's how I feel about it. And when she went after Dawkins and turned it into this thing, it just turned into this absurd, in my opinion, awful comedy of errors on her part.
Well, for context, you mentioned she went after Dawkins. What happened, what preceded that, was Dawkins commented on one of her blog posts. I think that
This is the point I was talking about here, Emery,
the sort
at
of
this
what you
point.
might expect an Oxford Dom to do.
Exactly.
He punctured the pretensions of an argument he thought was a bad argument. Maybe he overstated what her initial case was. Fine. Maybe he was responding to some of the commenters, blowing stuff out of proportion. And he had that Dear Muslima comment where he said, hey, dear Muslim woman in the Muslim world, stop complaining about how bad you have it because of the rigid strictures of that absurd monotheism that oppresses you. Look, some woman was offered coffee in an elevator. Triumph of feminism. She said no, and the guy said okay.
Right.
So you can debate, was that kind of wise of Dawkins to be commenting, and then he doubled down.
It wasn't. I think it was an error. I think it was a guy coming from his position.
Like an Oxford Dom.
Exactly.
Right?
And I don't...
So you can stop it there, Emery, if you want. That was my point.
When someone just grabs it like a fucking set of rank. So...
And what I'm saying is, you all did say it was a mistake, but
Hi,
then you proceeded
Mallory.
to totally minimize it. You totally said, it's just an Oxford Don doing his thing, no big deal. That
You're
was what
absolutely
I meant when
right. I minimized it, Wendell. That's exactly what I did. I'm minimizing it because it's minimal. It's not what it was turned into. That's my point, Wendell. And it really, hold on, let me get my headphones in here. Start ranting.
That's why I have these on. They're bigger.
So you could hear what his show.
Okay. It really upsets me when I say very clearly I don't agree with his position, I don't agree with his choice of words, and absolutely I minimized it because my complaint is it shouldn't have been conflated like that. It shouldn't have been turned into when our grandparents say these things about blacks or colored people, we don't go screaming around the house that my grandma's a fucking racist. They were raised in a different time from a different perspective, and I think perspectives should be considered when you have a reasonable discourse between people. But that's not what Rebecca did. Rebecca didn't have a reasonable discourse.
No, what happened? What happened is they asked him what he really meant. He doubled down on it and said, "Absolutely, that's what I meant." He didn't back off in the least.
I wouldn't expect him to. He doesn't have the perspective to even understand what he said, why what he said was maybe not worded well, or why it might have had a do what?
Why then? Why was it not worded well? What was wrong with that?
Well,
go ahead. She said, I felt threatened, therefore I was threatened, which is not okay, and I don't have any issue.
No, that's not what he was talking about.
We're talking about what Dawkins. We're talking about what Dawkins said.
Dawkins said, and I honestly didn't think it was insensitive, and I didn't think it was wrong, and I found it kind of amusing. What was wrong with that?
Emery,
Wendell,
I've got to ask you, because in the same show later on, you made exactly the same point and got very upset about the way other people minimize what you're doing and say you should do other things instead. PETA versus World Hunger was my comment. It's exactly the same point that Rebecca and other people are getting upset about.
Right. I think that you're right that Dawkins made the mistake of comparing what happens to Muslim women to the complaint that Rebecca was making. There's two reasons he made a mistake there, in my opinion. One of them is, one is real and the other is bullshit. That's my opinion. The thing that's happening to these Muslim women is fucking real.
Is real. Right.
The thing that's happening to Rebecca is being conflated and being turned into something that it isn't. She isn't being sexually harassed. She is a public figure who is actually having people react really, really hotly to her, really angrily to her, okay? And it's a thing that happens on the internet, and it's bullshit. And if it becomes a death threat, as we found out with Mavis, then there's something legal that you can do. Other than that, she, in my opinion, and by the way, in my opinion, she wasn't afraid to go to TAM. Wendell, she wasn't, because she went to TAM. And she was fine until all of this. She only went back and turned this into what she turned it into after she got mired down by this fucking position she built up.
And not only that, if she had a problem at TAM,
once again, we've wandered. If we could, I'm trying to try to get back today with the. I mean, I ought to be clear about what you said about the Dawkins comment that made me make my comment.
Yeah,
was that you actually seem to agree with me that he said something really stupid.
I agree with
it sounded like what he said was no big fucking deal.
And I don't think it was that big of a deal. I think it was stupid what he said, and someone here doesn't think that. Mallory, hi Mallory.
Mallory doesn't.
Hi.
Would you like to chime in on what Dawkins said and how you felt about it?
I had no problem with it. It pointed out what I think needed to be pointed out, which is you're asserting that something bad happened here, and let me give you a parallel and demonstrate that no, really nothing bad happened here. I have no sympathy for Rebecca in this. Somebody prefaced asking you for coffee with "don't take this the wrong way" and asked you for coffee. To act as though that there's anything wrong with that guys, please do that. Please.
Mallory.
Notice Rebecca didn't tell him not to ask you, Mallory.
I like the parallel he drew by saying this is not a problem. here is a problem. If you want to address women's issues, address these women's issues, because what you're doing now is a joke. And it is.
Mallory,
Even taking issue with it was a joke.
I'm going to challenge one thing that you're saying there, if I may. I'm going to side with Wendell, I have a feeling right now. I liked when Rebecca stood on a stage and Travis, do you know exactly what she said?
Which time?
Richard, do you have it?
Hold on. I think I have it.
Sorry, I lost it when I restarted the...
No, I have it right here.
Okay.
Because I don't get crime scene investigation. Hold on, I think
Dale
I
is
have
the
it.
producer.
All except that one man who didn't really grasp what I was saying on the panel, because at the bar later that night, actually at 4 in the morning, we were at the hotel bar, and 4 a.m., this is what we would call the ignition of this whole silly debacle, as I like to refer to it. And 4 a.m., I said, I've had enough, guys, I'm exhausted, going to bed. So I walked to the elevator, and a man got on the elevator with me and said, don't take this the wrong way, but I find you very interesting, and I would like to talk more. Would you like to come to my hotel room for coffee? Whoever's got the...
Who's getting arrested?
Someone mute for us. Thanks.
I thought it was...
Now here's the last paragraph in it. Just a word to the wise guys. Don't do that. I don't really know how else to explain how this makes me incredibly uncomfortable, but I'll just sort of lay it out that I was a single woman in a foreign country at 4 a.m. in a hotel elevator with you, just you, and don't invite me back to your hotel room right after I finish talking about how it creeps me out and makes me uncomfortable when men sexualize me in that manner. So yeah, so there's the quote. Now, when I read it, I did a show on it. I don't know which show it was. Maybe you can figure it out for me, Travis. It was when I had Kathy. Kathy, not Kathy.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed it. Anyhow.
Anyway,
Tracy. I think you met Tracy, didn't you?
Yeah, I had Tracy. I had Tracy on the show. I disagree with you, Mallory. I think any man worth his weight in one fucking ounce of brains doesn't get a girl at 4 in the morning cornered somewhere to ask her if she wants to hang out and be sexual or intimate that he might want to be sexual.
I didn't, honestly, I wouldn't have taken that sexually, especially when prefaced with, don't take this the wrong way.
Oh, I'm sure, as a man, I'm sure it was sexual.
Maybe I'm naive in that regard, but on top of that, what's the alternative? Humiliate this person publicly while they're obviously still engaged in drinking and conversation at the table? I think it would be polite to wait and step aside. I'm not threatened by every man I see. That is her problem. That is her choice.
No question.
Either.
What?
She's not said she's threatened by every man. And the alternative is you get to know someone. You talk to them at the bar. You introduce
Or you ask them to talk.
You get a feeling as to who they are before you corner them. I've got to tell you guys just one brief thing on this point. My first reaction to this was kind of neutral, neither way, until I talked to my wife and 2 of her girlfriends here in Tennessee. And they, all 3 of them, unanimously explained to me what it was like to be a woman. I'll give you an example. Last night I was talking to my wife on the car.
I don't know what it's like to be a woman, but I've got to disagree.
I'm just telling you how they felt. Now, they're older than you are. I don't know if it makes
Mallory, don't worry about it. They have drugs for this.
It's massive balls.
I mean, good for you. It's like my wife was talking to me on the phone last night, on the cell phone, and she said to me, we've got to stop talking. I've been sitting outside of my friend's house in my car, but it's getting dark now. I don't want to walk from my car to their house in the dark. And I said,
just real quick.
That's called being an American, not being a woman.
Just real quick, I want to interject. It was episode 21 from July 6, 2011.
Okay.
Almost a year ago.
So yeah, we had Tracy Harris on that show, and who else was on that show?
Who'd you say, Tracy? Jesse Marin.
Jesse Marin.
And Vanessa. No way I'm going to be able to pronounce her last name.
That's all right. No worries. Yeah, Vanessa. So I did the same thing.
My computer fell over. I've got it.
I did the
Just want
same thing
attention.
you did, Wendell. I addressed the question. I went to women and asked the question, is this right? And I learned something that week. I learned that if you wait for a woman to be, come on, Emmy, my bird's flying around. I learned that if you wait for a woman to be alone at 4 in the morning in an elevator where she's kind of technically trapped with you, that's not the best place to make an amorous move. And I think that what she did in that situation, and Mallory, I got to tell you, a lot of people kind of attacked her for that, and I think it's wrong to attack her for that. I think there's a lot to attack Rebecca for.
Down. What she actually did in the elevator, fine, whatever. Not what I would have done, that's fine. But to turn and publicly humiliate this person and then tell men not to behave in that way on behalf of all women is not acceptable. That's not.
Well,
okay.
did she name?
No, but she did not.
Did she name him?
No,
No.
She didn't. Who he was. Come on.
Here's
Anyway,
the
no, don't.
problem.
I've got a rule. Don't make rules for how an entire gender should conduct themselves.
She didn't present it that way. In the video, she just said for her.
Wendell, you and I agree.
I took it, Wendell.
And that's where the problem lies, right? Is she initially said one thing, and then you have internet commenters and internet trolls in between adding to the conversation,
Right.
and then a guy like Dawkins comes in and thinks that Rebecca said all this
Right.
stuff that actually internet commenters said,
Yep.
and then Rebecca replies to not only what Dawkins said, but Dawkins plus all the internet commenters what they said. That, you know, so it's a problem of the internet commenters are getting in the way, and you have people who are prominent in our communities like Watson and DJ who should be talking to each other and not talking via blog commenting threads, because it's not working. And we have each other's numbers. If I have a problem or a concern, I have numbers of people that I can pick up and contact someone and say, hey, I have a problem, instead of, you know, putting it out publicly and letting internet trolls add to the conversation is not doing anyone any good at all.
Everybody, absolutely everybody has DJ's number. Everybody has DJ's number. He answers the phone. Call him.
He's
If you have
such
a problem
a
with
slut.
But
if you have a problem with policy, call
just
me.
real quick on that I've
I
heard a
just
lot
want
of
to say,
people. Go
I
ahead.
really like what Sarah said. That's all I'm saying. Sarah, I think you're absolutely right. The biggest problem is the people aren't talking to you directly.
Yeah.
Well, and let's be clear about what else she said. There's so much inaccurate information. I had personal friends high up in the skeptical community, very high up, who completely misunderstood what initially was said by Rebecca. I literally, at that point, I had it on my iPhone so that I could play it for people. And I would go, what happened? What the fuck was said here? Because what people are claiming, go on, what people were claiming was said wasn't accurate. And and they were building arguments on it. And you know what that is, everybody? That's the opposite of skepticism. That's the opposite of critical thinking. Find out what the facts are. That's why I like to discuss, for example, whether or not there's a real power imbalance. I know we didn't reach an agreement on that, but it's all about that, in my opinion. This is a house of cards, in my opinion. There is no reason to restrict speakers from being sexual, amorous, or attracted to tam-goers. We're all fucking adults.
There's one reason I can give you, which you probably aren't going to think much of, but I'll do it anyhow. There are certainly now numbers of women who, for right or for wrong, don't feel as comfortable going to these conferences as they did 6 months ago. Would you all agree on that?
Yes.
I
would agree on that based on what I've heard.
I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying it seems that there are.
Sorry, go ahead, Emery.
I will agree with that, but I have to add an addendum, a caveat, and that is, because of all of the awful misinformation and the and the conflict and the complete just the incendiary shit that was being said by a relatively small group of people. That's why that's true.
Yeah, and I just want to add, I mean, I run a local skeptics group, but I have nothing to do with TAM. And I've gotten 3 emails personally from women who said that they're not going specifically because of the rumors that they've heard on the blogs, not Rebecca exclusively, but other blogs as well, that it's being billed as an unsafe space.
Which
And
is ridiculous.
However, this has gotten blown out of conjecture.
But just to go back for
out of all the conferences and out of all the people trying to do good in making spaces comfortable for everyone, TAM and the JREF and DJ have done the most that you can see from any other conference in skepticism or atheism.
Well, that definitely brings us to a very, very important point. And
can I complete the point I was trying to make?
Yes, you may. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Wendell.
Thank you. The reason I wanted an agreement first that we agree for right or for wrong, more people are upset. One thing having the kind of harassment policies and so forth would do is they would help reassure some of these people who are upset about it for right or for wrong, and they might feel safer, whether they are physically safer or not. I think they would feel better.
I don't think that's true.
Well, we have to remember, too, that the people who are upset in situations are always more vocal than the people who don't. I don't go around telling everyone how I don't have a problem with something when I don't have a problem with something. I tell people when I do have a problem. So there's all kinds of people that don't have a problem or have had positive experiences, and you can't know if there are more people on one side than the other based on, based on what you hear.
Yeah, well, I mean, on that point as well, sorry, everybody, on that point as well, there's a lot of women that are afraid to say anything because they're afraid of getting badgered.
Right, yeah, if you have a dissenting opinion saying, well, I've had a positive experience, even if you say, that doesn't mean that, I'm saying that it's perfect or that what other women are saying, that it doesn't go on, but this is, you try to make the point that women are people and we don't all have the same opinion and experiences. That's like a major point. Like, if you have a conflict between 2 male skeptics and they have dissenting opinions, you don't start in asking them things about, like, well, what is it like being a man in this situation? It's only when there's a women involved that it's like, well, I went and asked my, I wouldn't go, well, I went and asked my husband and my boyfriend and his friends what it would be
I
like
think you should. The Bible says you really should do that. I mean, you shouldn't even be speaking in public, as I recall.
So it can be, it can be annoying, even though Rebecca, if you go back to the whole elevator gate thing, she didn't say she was speaking for all women. It was, the internet that made her say that. But it does become annoying to hear the talk, well, women think this about this subject, and women think this about that, and this is how women feel, when it's like, well, we're people, and I come from a different background and different country and different culture than, most women at TAM, and, we're people just like how men are all people. You wouldn't put all of men under one umbrella in the ways you do women in these cases.
You kind of could, though, for the record. We're pretty simple.
Thank you, Emery. I've been saying it for years.
When you stick yourself in a hole like that, you're not, and neither are we, and it's...
No, he's right. Men really are.
It's pointless to make a playbook for how to behave. We have good laws in place for what, like actual laws, like not TAM, not JREF, actual laws in place that handle sexual.
Well, I think that's an
and
interesting point about that, though, is because TAM has a different dynamic than a lot of the other conferences, because, especially since 7, we're in a hotel that the conference and everybody hangs out in, all happens in the same place. People don't tend to wander off because it's not on the Strip. The Strip's not as easily accessible. So, like, everybody hangs out in the Del Mar afterwards. It's not part of the conference, technically. The JREF really has nothing to do with anything that goes on there. And from my experience, from the little tiny bit that I've seen and heard about, it all happens there. It doesn't happen during the conference.
Right, if you have a problem at a TAM event, like at, you know, the opening reception, you know, anything that is on, you know, TAM time, then you go to TAM staff, and every conference, I mean, I've been to all kinds of conferences, not just skeptic conferences, and the responsibility of the convention staff is to kick people out and revoke badges and, you know, and keep their conference, you know, free of troublemakers. That's their responsibility. Anything beyond that, you contact hotel security or the police. It's not the responsibility of convention staff to take harassment reports and police people and take down names and, you know, keep private information of people. Like, they're not trained for that.
Let me jump in, Sarah.
You're putting people in a position where I don't want the convention staff to be put in any kind of danger either. And so there's responsibilities of the conference, and then there's, you know, there's hotel security and there's police. And I think
Sarah, let me jump in. Huh? Let me jump in for a second here. Wendell.
Yeah.
I know that you want to react to that. I need to hear exactly what you're going to say.
Well, actually, you made it. My reaction really is because it also goes back to some of you spent some time, which I didn't mention, implying basically the same thing that Sarah just said. That if it wasn't illegal, it wasn't harassment. In fact, Sarah and Mallory in particular, is that a true statement? Could you, if you went to a convention and are there activities that you would consider to be improper that people should be called upon, should be recorded, perhaps should be thrown from the event, that aren't actually illegal? Or do you agree with what Emery said, that it's largely the same? Which is kind of what I just heard Sarah say.
Well, I think a more intelligent.
You're a woman, that's all.
That's exactly right. A more intelligent maybe way, or a more sensitive way to ask that question would be, let me ask Sarah, Mallory, and Travis.
What are you implying?
That question. What I'm implying is, do you not hear, Wendell, what you're doing when you do that? I mean, you're
right. You're fine, Emery. That's cool. I understand.
You see what I'm saying? And that's one of the problems with this whole discussion, is that it's clumping all women into this one specific kind of group, like they're the only ones that can speak on it, and it's not necessarily accurate by any stretch. Women are very complex as a group, as a gender. And
that's my white hair. That's me, my white hair, talking from my slightly elevated age. Go ahead.
How dare you?
I just want to clarify about what you just said about if something isn't illegal, is it harassment? And I've had this response before when I tried to discuss, you know, there's a difference between what the convention, what their responsibilities are, and then what should be forwarded on to security or police. I'm not saying that if it's not a big enough deal to call the police, then not to do anything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's stuff that the convention should deal with, that if, you know, like, it's not a right to be at TAM. They can throw anyone out for any reason they want to, because it's their event. So if you report something to the convention staff and they feel, you know, let's say a guy has had too much to drink and is causing, you know, some uncomfortable situations, they can ask him to leave. Either leave that specific event at that time, or, you know, ban him from the convention, whatever. That's their turf. is kicking people out of the convention.
Now,
if that drunk guy starts becoming, you know, rowdy and doesn't want to leave, or, you know, the lady wants, the woman wants, you know, some sort of report taken down of what this guy did to her, that is going beyond convention responsibility and to either hotel security or law enforcement. So that's what I'm saying.
I want to add this to what you said. DJ spoke really clearly on this, and I wish I had a transcript of it. I know I don't, but maybe someone here will remember.
He did. Richard posted in the chat. So if someone is accosted or assaulted, and to be legal about it, sexual harassment cannot happen in a public event, right? Sexual harassment can only happen in a workplace by definition.
So, but DJ went on to say that they have always been personally responsible for making sure that everybody is comfortable as possible. And when somebody acts up, as someone did in '09, they're taken care of. They're asked to leave. It can be reported. But man, I got to tell you, Wendell, folks on your side of this discussion.
My side.
It is. You're on a particular side, my friend, and folks on your side of this discussion.
Come on, I'm an individual. My opinions aren't Rebecca's opinions. I have my own opinion, just like the women do, right, women?
Let me ask Richard. He's got a beard.
Yeah, but it's the wrong color.
Oh, right. But my point is, really, people on this side of on your side of the discussion, there doesn't seem to be anything that DJ or JREF are going to do to make them feel like they've sated this monster juggernaut that is the sexist scandal of TAM. There's nothing. In my opinion,
I've not seen any of the actual bloggers say anything like that, Emery.
Well,
commenters, yes, but not me.
You said it. No, bullshit. You stop for a minute, Travis. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You did too say it. You said.
Tell me.
Well, you said that earlier in this discussion, you said that there should be a way that someone can file a report, and,
yes, I said that.
and that they can do it anonymously, and that what I'm saying is,
but your last paragraph said stuff about the sexist, horrible disaster that TAM is. Your last paragraph said there wasn't anything you could do to satisfy me. DJ was doomed no matter what he did. I never said those things.
I have a comment on that, but I want to hear what Mallory has to say.
Go ahead, Mallory.
Oh, Mallory, are you still here?
Yeah, I was being quiet after this man told me to shut up.
Oh, he's gonna get you now. Do you live nearby?
I'm fucking terrified because I have a vagina. I wanted to interject that not only is it not TAM staff's place to police these things, but they really, really shouldn't be. Sexual assault, and that paragraph posted in chat deals with sexual harassment. Let's talk about sexual assault, which is the same thing but not in the workplace, essentially. I don't want TAM staff dealing with that. They can't collect evidence. They can't decide whether or not the woman's making it up and the guy actually did something. They have no authority. That idea is kind of terrifying to me. They should not be dealing with that. That is definitely not their place. If a rape or sexual assault takes place, some guy with an extra badge takes care of this. No, that needs to be
I don't think they're saying that they would. To exclude the person.
I'm not saying you said that, but there is.
Go ahead.
They have no business addressing that. Not only is it not their place, but in so much as it's not their job and it's not safe for them, but it's also not their place in that they don't have the authority or the training or the ability to do anything about it. Certainly not what needs to be done about it. And for, if no other reason than that, rules at TAM, fine, but those don't even really touch on the nasty things that a lot of people allege happen or could happen. And I'm not talking irrelevant people. I'm commenters. I got yelled at. Penn published a letter of mine that kind of put me on the national stage and got me yelled at a lot. And I got messages about, like, I was assaulted, only like 2 of them. And I'm like, please don't tell TAM staff about this. Or tell them as a secondary measure. Please don't blog about this. Please call the police, because they can't stop that. They have no authority to stop that. That's not a conversation we need to be having. If we're talking about this, we're talking about it on the level of basic social interaction. Not and they have policies. And as far as I know, DJ did a survey and nobody complained. Like,
Travis?
Yeah.
That's why it's insatiable.
Yeah, so actually one thing that I've been saying a lot to a lot of people, and nobody has really given me an answer, and I actually have a little bit of an answer, is that, so TAM 9, they had the harassment policy. It was in everybody's packet. They talked about it on stage at least once that I know of. They did a survey, an anonymous survey that over 800 people filled out, and DJ has the specifics. I'm not going to get into it here, but basically nobody complained about sexual harassment on it or anything else. What more do you want TAM or DJ to do?
Get rid of all misogyny everywhere on the planet.
Oh, isn't that cute?
My one suggestion that I've thought of on my own is that if they're, because of the aspect that I mentioned earlier about people hanging out in the same hotel and everything else, and you got to remember, there's people that go to South Point during TAM that don't go to TAM to hang out with their skeptic friends. So those people aren't even going to, I mean, you can't eject them from a conference they're not going to. But if something is reported to the hotel, then I think that the TAM organizers should have an agreement with the hotel that the South Point security mentions it to the TAM organizers, and they can decide whether or not to deal with that particular participant or not.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one example of something that I think could be an improvement.
Further, can I just build in on that, Travis? With TAM being in Vegas, at a casino hotel in Vegas, it's very different from it happening in a Hilton in Nebraska. It's very different in one way. They have real, honest-to-God security. Security who will take you out of that hotel immediately on a threat. They don't mess around. Watch if there's a 17-year-old in that Del Mar lounge. 20 people descend from roof tiles. It's crazy. If there's a real problem, they will take you out, and they will throw you out. It's their job. TAM does not have security. We're not Dragon Con, where we have a security staff. We're not Wizard World, where we have a security staff. We don't have that. We have a casino with real cops at beck and call of real security with real weapons. Go to the experts.
But I don't think anybody's saying the TAM staff should physically grab people and throw them out. All I hear people saying...
They are, Wendell.
All they're saying is the TAM staff should have procedures and policies. It can be the policy is to have the hotel security handle it.
Don't they have procedures and policies?
They finally did last year, yes.
Okay, so why are we still having that conversation? Why are you saying people are saying they should have this when they've had it for over a year?
People like Greg Layden are saying this. People who have never been to TAM, who have no understanding of what happened.
Again, the reason some people are saying it right now is because no one has said there will be a policy this year and here it is, or there will be one and we're working on it. Very simple things that someone could have said that would make a lot of people happy.
But hang on, so here we go.
And ask him. I mean,
wait.
I think I will actually, but that's fine.
I mean, if they had it last year and they found it successful, I think the assumption is that they'll have it this year. But if you don't feel secure in that, and that's your only...
See, what I don't understand, though, is what I don't understand is people have Stephanie Zahn. I don't know how to pronounce Stephanie's last name. If that's right, somebody tell me. Has, for one, communicated via email and Twitter to JREF saying, hey, can you assure me the policy will be published and it will be in effect this year? And that was 3 weeks ago, dead silence. Why didn't somebody just reply to her?
Really? Really, Wendell? Really? I'm setting my computer down and I'm ranting. Are you out of your mind, brother? Really? A single person sent an email 3 weeks ago and asked about the policy, and she didn't hear back from an operation that is completely underwater the month before.
Now, this single person is probably the blogger most talked about as being the one at that group of bloggers causing this problem. Stephanie,
okay, that would be let's do an experiment. Let's do an experiment.
What?
Okay.
No, I think Stephanie's been more active, actually. But.
Is Stephanie one of the people who has been outspoken against TAM? Is that one of the problems that we're dealing with?
Stephanie is one of the people who's been outspoken against what she believes is not having the harassment handled properly. I'll phrase it.
Then I might ignore her fucking request too, Wendell. I might, in fact, I might ignore it publicly. I might go.
And you're going to make the situation worse if you do that.
Yeah. Well, people like that can suck my fucking cock.
So you're doing
it's
doing exactly the
Why
same
would
thing that you're talking about. You're
Okay,
doing
wait,
exactly
wait.
the same thing that caused this.
I need to.
Okay, what do you got? Hold on.
What
you said something about
DJ Grothy's number.
I know,
Yeah,
that's fine.
Wait. Okay, guys, don't make me start muting people. So DJ posted on 6/03/12 on Skeptic's blog post where Rebecca said she wouldn't be going to TAM. He said, let me get the exact quote. One way we worked to combat the problem was by publishing a code of contact for a particular event last year. And he puts the link to it, right?
Right.
Well, look, to get this away from just Rebecca specifically or TAM specifically, we have to remember that TAM is the only free thought conference, even still from when I checked last week, that has a policy or has had a policy ever.
The only one.
It's the only one that has near parity male-female speakers, even remotely close.
How many male?
50-50. They're at 50-50%.
Actually.
Not that it matters.
Yeah.
But the point is that they've done more stuff as implementing policies and trying to get more women speakers and everything else than any other skeptic or free thought or atheist conference ever. And they're getting the most shit for it.
Well,
why?
Travis, let me ask you a question.
Oh,
Travis.
I know why DJ is getting shit, but that's okay.
Travis, is it possible they're bringing in more women to speak and they're inviting more women to come just be TAM goers, and they have an actual, I think they have an actual fund they put together to bring in.
That's a different. That's not JREC.
You know who put the fund together, Emery? That was the Skeptics. That was Rebecca and Surly and her friends that do that.
But it was one of her.
Yeah, but there's a number of grant programs.
Well, then maybe maybe Rebecca and her group are involved in this as well. If they're putting a program to get more women to come to TAM so they can just be sexually harassed.
Well, Rebecca's even said.
Come on, Emery. Say stupid shit if you want to, but you know.
Actually, Wendell,
I think you're right. That's a good plan. The more they get harassed, the more power Rebecca has, the more she can take over the movement. Well, actually, I forgot to tell you this, but she's offered to pay for me to go there if I will harass women on her behalf.
Nice.
That's the whole underlying idea.
Wendell, but Emery brings up a good point. And Ophelia Benson, if I got her name right,
that's correct.
She compared like, not directly, but insinuated whatever about Nazi Germany and all this other stuff. She's on the speaker list. If she really thinks that TAM is that bad, why is she going and speaking there?
I haven't read Ophelia, so I don't know what she's been saying. Sorry, I can't speak to her post.
But Rebecca said that in future conferences, that Amy's grant program, which I think is great for the record, is because people think I don't think that for some reason, that they're not going to use the grant program for TAM. They're going to use it for other conferences. And you know what? I could give her credit for sticking to her guns and stuff, but I mean, really, it's like it's ridiculous. As far as I'm concerned, Ophelia should say, I think this place is unsafe. I think it's like Nazi Germany or whatever the exact quote that she said it was. And I'm not going to speak there because this is how I feel about it.
Oh, God.
But of course, that's Ophelia's decision. Since she's a woman on that side, they should all drop out because they're all part of the same block thinking the same, right?
No.
They don't get to be individuals.
No. That's not what I'm saying. She has specifically called out TAM for being a problem. Sarah's speaking. She's not saying that. She can go all she wants. There's no reason for her to pull out.
I'm just saying, I don't really know what Ophelia's position is exactly, but she has the right to choose to come.
I'm a self-hating fuckface, so there's a difference.
You're a gender
really?
Sarah.
Man, if you got
I'm a self-loathing woman.
Self-loathing. Now that's different than self-hating, I think.
I got what was it, Stockholm syndrome from one of the Free Thought blog people. Yeah, that was how uncomfortable I felt.
So anybody who speaks out against that position.
No, I'm interested. Hold it for a second. I'd like to hear more about that. Mallory.
Oh.
Mallory, you're saying you specifically recalled a person with Stockholm syndrome by a free thought blogger.
Yes.
Sarah was called a lying fuckface.
Well, lying fuckface, that's okay.
A lot of shitty things, but my favorite was a person as having Stockholm syndrome. I wrote a note I'm in the local SSA and atheist group, and I wrote a nice little letter to them, and I happen to be close personal friends with Penn Jillette. So I sent it to him because he's my friend and also an atheist, and he was like, I really like this. Can I Twitter it? And I naively was like, yeah, that'd be great. I don't know how Twitter works, and I'm not aware that you have 2 million viewers or followers, or I don't know. I might as well be in that regard. And I mean, the fact that it was meant for my personal friends is mostly irrelevant because fine, have it. I stand by everything I said. Several free thought bloggers got a hold of it and were incredibly dishonest about what I said, especially.
So, but I'm curious. Can you name names? I read most of those bloggers. I'd like to know.
Jen actually blocked me from commenting on her blog post about me.
I didn't hear you. Who did?
Jen McCrell.
Jen? Yeah, I know Jen.
And then also Jason Thibodeau, or however you say that.
Yeah, I don't know Jason.
Lousy Canuck.
Well, he is lousy too.
Anyway.
That doesn't sound insulting when you say it, Sarah. I'm sorry, it's your voice.
Go with shit, I don't know. He specifically suggested very strongly that I had Stockholm Syndrome because I've had a good experience and I don't have an issue with people flirting with me.
I apologize. I want to know who said the Stockholm thing specifically?
Jason Thibodeau, the lousy Canadian.
Thibodeau.
I don't want to say his name.
Does anybody else think it's ironic that the people on Free Thought Blog that are calling for a harassment policy run a blog that has the most harassing comments ever?
Yeah, I know.
Google my name. The title of Jason's blog about me is Mallory Nasrella says, I like it when men call me things. And I mean, maybe I do, but that was
but that wasn't your point. I understand.
that was an assumption on his part because I said I like dick jokes and crap humor, and it doesn't make me uncomfortable, and I like candor.
Oh, that was you!
Yeah, hello!
I saw that! That was you! I remember now.
Yeah! What horrible thing did you say about me?
I have no idea. I can't recall.
You called me a libertarian because they did a lot of that too. No.
I might have because of them.
I am. It's okay.
And I actually dislike them more than JREF, but that's beside the point.
that was horrible. If anything's made me uncomfortable, it's those douchebags just being shitheads. A couple of them implied that I was doing it to popularize my work, which really upset me. I happen to be an erotic photographer. Irrelevant. Jason actually was like, cut that shit out. Also, Ian, who blogs under the name Communist, got into it with me. Who else? Oh, the WWJDT blog got into it with me. Apart from Free Thought blogs, the guy who wrote the book, the man who didn't sell his soul on eBay, what's his name? Friendly Atheist. Friendly Atheist got shitty with me about it. And really, if you remember that letter, it wasn't like that. Those people are great at making people feel uncomfortable. And if somebody asked me, do you feel less comfortable, I'd have to say yes because of those douchebags. Not because of any harassment policy, not because of people with penises, not because of people trying to get laid, but because of these dishonest assholes who will deliberately steal your
with
work.
blogs who think that they're cool because they have blogs.
I know, right? Maybe they're mad that I'm an actual website.
Is there anybody who doesn't have a blog anymore? Hey, guys,
I don't have a personal one.
I have a commitment at 9 o'clock. I said before.
All right, so
9 my time. So
okay.
Do you want to circle around and try to do what we said we were going to do?
Yeah, Emery, is there anything that you want to touch on while we got 10 minutes left?
I think that the greatest harm that has ever been done to TAM so far is, in my opinion, the awful, awful groundswell of bullshit that claims that TAM is an unsafe place to women. I think that's absolute bullshit. I don't know what the motivations were of the people, all the people involved in turning this into this. I'm not going to say that I know or I feel or I think. I just think I just think this. I think that they're doing so much more harm to the skeptic movement in general, and I don't believe that there is a danger or a risk going to TAM to women any higher than going to the fucking grocery store. I want to also say that, in my opinion, TAM should be doing nothing more than they're doing. I think they're probably getting getting themselves too involved, in my opinion, in terms of speaking publicly. I think that that's probably why that girl, Zvon, whatever her name is, Stephanie didn't get a response back, because it sounds to me like she was baiting them. And it sounds to me like they said she knows where to find it. It's on her own fucking blog. DJ commented there. The fact that she would tell anybody that there was a 3-week delay and no response to her email is fucking dishonest. It's a lie. If DJ said clearly, no. If DJ said clearly on her blog, on a blog that she is aware of, and in her own community what the plan is, and she said that makes what she's suggesting a lie. And you yourself, Wendell, are proof that it was a lie. If she knows they have a system in place, if she knows they have a plan, if she knows they're working on it, because he mentioned it on the Skeptics blog very clearly.
He did not say that. He did not say that. In that quote, he did not say they were working on a plan.
What did he say? What did he say, Travis?
All right, going back.
Sorry, on today's? Sorry, on episode 69?
No. This is on Skeptics.
Okay.
Let me see.
Skeptic blog. I know the post, but go ahead.
No, I'm looking for it. Keep going. If I find it, I'll chime in.
Okay, my point is, if Stephanie is disseminating the information that JREF doesn't even have a plan this year for, because that's what you intimated, Wendell. You said.
I'll tell you exactly what Stephanie said.
All right.
What Stephanie said is all the references that she's seen to this have all referenced last year's plan. Every time it's been talked about, including the post you're going to read in a minute, Travis.
Yeah, no, I found it. It doesn't. He doesn't mention anything about this year. You are correct.
They never mentioned this year. And Emery, would you get all upset that she's getting upset because they haven't replied? They did reply. Her very first tweet to them, as I recall, they replied and referenced last year's plan. She then followed up that tweet. They replied very quickly with the first reply. She followed up with that with a request to say, well, that's great. I'm glad you did that. By the way, is there going to be a plan this year? Will last year's plan be in effect? And I can show you these. They're on her site. She's got a picture of the tweets, and they've not replied to that reply on her part.
Okay.
So I do not believe that she's lying at the least. I've read everything on that blog, and it was perfectly honest.
I will rescind half of my rant.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm thankful for that.
I will say this. I will say that, in my opinion, what you're telling me is that, first of all, you said it was an email. She hadn't gotten an email back. I thought it was a private email.
I think she did email and tweet both. I'd have to look at the post to tell you.
If she's doing that via tweet, Wendell, if that's what she's doing, then their non-response could not be more appropriate, in my opinion. Because what she's trying to do is she's trying to inflame this discussion, and she's trying to, anything that she can get them to say publicly, that she can then go after, as she obviously does, going after DJ. And you yourself said you agreed with that post by, what was that guy's name?
Greg, the one you hate, yes.
Greg Layden.
Policies are usually put in place, and they are in place until someone says otherwise.
Yeah,
that is not true. And all they have to do is say that. She asked the question.
No, it's not all they have to do. She is fighting them. Wendell, do you not see that she's trying to harm TAM?
No, I do not. Why the hell would
what
she
she's trying to do?
Okay,
that's what she's doing.
What's her purpose?
Say she's guilty.
I don't know what her fucking purpose is.
You can't say she only wrote them to do X, Y, and Z. That is assuming her purpose, and I'm not okay with that. You can say, I think she's a nasty cunt, but you can't convict her guilty of something she has not yet done.
What I'm saying...
Whether she deserves a personal reply, I think that's a much stronger argument, which is no.
But she did get a personal reply. You want me to read it to you?
Awesome. Be happy you got one. These people are fucking busy.
You want me to read you what she said?
Wendell, no, you don't. You just did. We heard it. What I'm trying to say, Wendell, is she is doing harm to Tam. She's doing harm by inflaming a situation that, in my opinion, is not even real. There isn't a real threat to women at Tam. Not any. Not at all. Now, when I say not any, I mean there's no more risk going to TAM and hanging out with the nerds that are at TAM than any other setting where you might be hanging out with nerds.
The people that I have been reading, and I haven't been reading the asshole Canadian, so I don't know what he's saying. I mean, I'm going to refer to him as that now until I get to know him, the asshole Canadian. I've been reading the Greta, I've been reading Stephanie and Rebecca, who haven't said that much about it, really.
Yes, she has. Let me read a quote from Rebecca.
My turn.
Okay, go ahead.
Whoever got his, I get mine.
I'll let you finish. Go.
No one that I've seen of the people I'm reading have said TAM is worse than the universe in general, the overall human community. No one is accusing them of TAM being the problem and TAM being worse. I'll let you read it in a second, Travis. Hang on.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
They are saying that it is not as safe a place as they want it to be, as they would like it to be, as they had hoped that it would be. Okay. Travis, hit me.
Okay. So this is from Rebecca. This is from Rebecca's post. Over the past several years, I have been groped, grabbed, touched in other non-consensual ways. Told I can expect to be raped. Told I'm a whore, a slut, a bitch, a prude, a dyke, a cunt, a twat. Told I should watch my back at conferences. Told I'm too ugly to be raped. Told I don't have to say in my own I don't have a say in my own treatment because I posed for sexy photos. Told I should get a better headshot because that one doesn't convey how sexy I am in person. Told I deserve to be raped by skeptics and atheists, all by skeptics and atheists constantly. And this is in a post where she's talking about why she won't be at TAM. How does that not reference TAM?
And before you answer, Wendell, let me just wait, Wendell. Let me just say that's not true. When someone says that she's too ugly to be raped, I totally disagree with that.
You don't think that's true? Fine.
But Wendell,
no opinion. No
I
opinion.
thought it was a valid point.
I'm sorry, Wendell. Go ahead now. I'm just
no opinion. I don't know. The purple hair, the blue hair doesn't work for me as well as the red hair did. Actually.
Well, regardless, you said that there hasn't been specific cases of people saying that they feel threatened or whatever at TAM specifically.
TAM. And she doesn't. She's talking in general. Those things have happened to her in general. I didn't hear her say.
But in the same post,
I'm not going to TAM. I didn't hear her say I'm not going to TAM because it's more dangerous than other places.
Yes, she did. She goes.
Why I'm not going to TAM?
Hold on. He's got it right. He's got it right in front. Hold on. Travis, go.
Yes. I'm going. Hang on. One second.
I hate to be mean about it, but okay. One more sentence, Travis.
Yeah, last sentence, this is quite obviously not a safe place for me or other women who want to be free of the gendered slurs and sexual threats and come-ons experienced in our day-to-day lives. But apparently DJ thinks I am lying.
She's saying she wants it to be better than the rest of her life. She's
no,
not
but
saying it's worse.
That comes right after she lists all these things that have happened to her, and she says
read that sentence again. Read that sentence again.
This is quite obviously, this being TAM,
agreed,
is not a safe place for me or other women who want to be free of the gendered slurs and sexual threats and come on we experience in our day-to-day lives. But the point is that she says later on in the post that she's going to go to CSICon, she's going to continue to go to Nexus. She singles out TAM by saying all these other things that she's going to go to. She obviously doesn't feel threatened there. Otherwise, why would she go?
Wendell,
I'd have to go read the whole post. I'm telling you that one sentence, though, does not make your case. I'm going to have to read the whole post.
Email it to
I
him.
thought she was also doing it. No, I've got the post. You don't need to email it to me.
All right.
I've got the post.
Anyway.
I just don't understand, Wendell. I know you have to go, and I'm going to say this, and you have the last word before you go, and then we'll finish. But, Wendell, if you can't see that she's being dishonest and incendiary there and completely sending an awful message, and quite frankly is the result of lower women registering at TAM probably. That's the most incendiary thing I've ever found about this whole thing. And That's one of the main reasons that people don't feel safe at TAM. And it's fucking dishonest, and it's evil, and it's wrong.
Okay,
Go ahead and
Wendell,
finish.
last word.
Hard to follow. I'm gonna back out and not fight for the last word because I
What
don't
do you
have time.
think we should do? No, please tell us, what should we do
I've
now?
already been through. I believe there should be harassment policies. I'm not going to tell you what should be in them. I am not. I mean, honestly, guys, I'm not involved in this at the same level that all of you are. Even I'm just a guy who reads some blogs. You know, we got people here who know Penn Jillette. Oh, I'm so impressed. You know, people who
the name drop.
people who know who have called DJ Grothy and talked to them. Oh boy, you know, we've got Emery. So, you know, I admit I don't have the same knowledge base you guys do. I do share DJ Emery's. Well, everybody, I think, agrees that it's been handled. Would you guys agree that everybody has handled it crappy on both sides?
No. Yes.
Do we get agreement
Well,
there?
Not everybody.
I think DJ
Well,
has
not
made
every
some
single
mistakes.
person on both sides, but generically,
lot of
both sides have reacted badly enough to cause it to get bigger and bigger.
I think
it's
that's true.
snowballing.
No, I like what DJ's done. It's been slow and methodical, but it has given us actual results. We're supposed
I'm
to
out
be
of time
skeptics,
because
then
I
I'm
would
Okay.
like to talk about
Alright.
DJ. I would like to
Alright,
talk about
everybody.
DJ blaming Rebecca, but I don't have time,
That-
guys.
Okay,
That's a
so
whole other
just real quick,
Yeah.
Wendell, you can go because you're not going to be part of this. But I'm going to end this when I stop the broadcast. It's going to end this hangout. I know Richard wants to talk some more. I know some other people want to talk some more. I'm going to start a new hangout after this one that's not going to be on air. If
And I
anybody
won't
wants
be
to just shoot
there.
the shit. So thank you,
No.
everybody.
That
Yeah,
way we
thank
can't
you.
talk shit about Wendell after he leaves. Okay.
No, guys, I've got one
no.
rule. No,
That's not what it's about.
I got one rule about talking shit about me, and that is, as long as you say it quietly enough that I can't hear my name. The thing I hate worse than anything is when you hear this. Wendell! Wendell! So, since I won't be on the call, do whatever the hell you want. It's your lives.
Thank you, Wendell.
Gentlemen,
everybody.
ladies, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, guys.
I'm gone. Bye.
Bye.